we are going to move on to the next session. And this is also a very important one. And I'll tell you why. And the nutrition is, of course, the key to address most of India's health problems. And IHW Council's Bharat Nutrition Week between the 1st and 7th of September is a sign of our commitment for making a healthy India. Now, this is another landmark initiative to bring all stakeholders together to bolster the efforts of making a Poshan Yug Bharat for all. Obviously, for a healthy nation, we have to start from the scratch, which is from the time a baby is in the womb. This is where we lay the foundation of the start of a healthy person. So, in our next session, we are going to discuss healthy pregnancy and optimal breastfeeding, an elusive target. Now, in India, only 42.6% of mothers initiate breastfeeding in the first hour of the birth taking place, even though 78.9% of all deliveries happen in institutional setups, happen in health facilities. Further, only about 55% children are exclusively breastfed during the first 6 months of life. Now, mother's milk is likened to liquid gold, and it's something for which you don't have to break the bank. It doesn't cost a fortune. So how can we improve breastfeeding rates in our country? And why should we focus on maternal and infant health? These are some of the questions that we're going to talk about in this session. And let me welcome all our esteemed speakers who are going to be discussing this issue. We have with us Dr. D.K. Mangal, Professor and Dean Research, IIHMR University. We have Dr. Gauri Agarwal, Director, Founder and Fertility Specialist, Seeds of Innocence, and Dr. Payal Biswas, a lactation specialist at Devakar Specialty Hospital. Welcome to all our speakers to this discussion, very important discussion on breastfeeding and maternal health, as well as infant health. Let me start with you, Dr. Mangal. I would like you to give us your opening comments on where you see the situation in our country. It may not be very off the global average, but for a country where, the disparity between haves and have-nots is so huge, this is a place where, there is still scope to make better progress than what we are doing now, isn't it?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to all. You have, in your opening remarks, have shared some data. I would continue on that and say that the health of women in general and health of pregnant women in particular, and also the issue of nutrition around that, which includes nutrition of women and also the newborn, are very, very important concern. And India is a unique country. We had realized the importance of these issues early on, and almost now 7 decades, we have one or the other program on maternal and child health. Today, we have a very large program, which is RMNCH plus A program. And all these programs are designed to ensure that women, in particular, pregnant women specifically, and the newborns have good health and they have a good start in their life. A lot of progress has been made in the country in these 7 decades. Still, the current picture or the data indicates that we still have a long way to go. Now, as you have very rightly pointed out, that despite the fact that about 80% births are occurring or happening in institutions, both in public and private sector, large number of women are coming for antenatal checkups in first trimester, and almost 2/3 of them receive all 4 mandatory antenatal checkups. Despite all these efforts, and we have heard about anemia intervention, and the pledge that we have of Anemia Mukt Bharat, the situation is still grim, I would say. If we look at the maternal health or women's health, about 1 in every 5 women are undernourished. They have low BMI than the normal. And about 25 to 30% women in both urban rural areas, they are having malnutrition. That means they are obese. Anemia is almost 50% amongst women. And also pregnant women and children have high proportion of anemia. Coming to the behaviors and practices like breastfeeding, the early initiation of breastfeeding is about only 40%. Child receives breast milk in first 1 hour. Exclusive breastfeeding is around 54% in the country. And the complementary feeding is also in the same range of 43%. Of course, these figures are definitely lower in rural areas. So this data very clearly suggests that despite our good intentions, good programs, good policies, the progress had been slow. Now, why this is slow, and who is responsible, or what factors are responsible for this current status? One has to look at this from all aspects. I would say 360-degree analysis is required. If we earlier perhaps the policymakers, program managers, clinicians, doctors felt that it's a medical problem, that we have the child is malnourished or woman is anemic, and we know what is the solution. We prescribe, and that person will improve. It is a fact that we know the effective solutions for most of these issues that are faced by women and children as regards their health is concerned. But it was not that simple. Now it is very clear. Now, what are the other factors that influence women's behavior as regards her own health is concerned? And then the giving a positive or healthy start to the newborn by initiating the breastfeeding early, continuing breastfeeding, exclusive breastfeeding, complementary feeding at right time, and continuing the breastfeeding for at least 2 years. All these behaviors are not practiced. And if we look at the data, even after 7 decades, this remains around 50%. Now, this is true across both rural areas, urban areas, across all socioeconomic strata, across all education levels of women. So it's very, very clear that the contextual factors play a very, very important role besides the advice or the interventions or treatment that is prescribed by the clinicians to deal with these situations. I would like to also, I'm sorry, I'm not able to hear you.
Thank you for your comments, Dr. Mankal. We'll come back to you.
One more sentence, if you permit me.
Yes, sir.
Now, we need to realize that we have no option. We need to change the situation. And the pregnancy is such an event that pregnant women are in contact with the health department or health functionaries for a minimum period of 6 months. But this needs to be expanded to include the paraconceptional time. So it could be 9 months or even 12 months or more. And this is an ample opportunity for all of us to educate, counsel, not only the pregnant woman, but also all those people who influence her behavior, especially on her own diet, and also these practices which relates to breastfeeding, complementary feeding, and continued breast milk or breastfeeding later on. That is very, very important. And here, one more thing that I would like to emphasize is the way we conduct our antenatal clinics, both in rural areas and in also in large private sector hospitals or tertiary care medical college hospitals. That needs a thorough introspection. That is the place where we are missing opportunities, and we are not in fact counseling mothers and the husband and the mother-in-laws enough to make a point that they need to change their behaviors. I'll stop here and maybe I'll comment.
Right. Dr. Agarwal, Dr. Mangal has laid out for us that, while we have these goals, there is a scope for improvement. What I'm trying to understand, you have hands-on experience with women who come to your centers for deliveries, for treatment. Some of those are high-risk pregnancies and may require closer care of the doctor. When they're so invested in their pregnancies, why isn't that same effort there when it comes to breastfeeding and the optimal health, the best health possible for their child? Has it got anything to do with a lack of awareness or misinformation that alternatives are better?
So, hi all. So what I feel is that any healthy pregnancy should be taken into 5 steps. First is your proper visits, which are antenatal visits. Second is the counseling, just not of the pregnant woman, but definitely of the entire family who is staying with the woman. I mean, the husband, the mother-in-law, they have to be there with her for the counseling, because still today in India, a woman's life, woman's mental status is actually dominated by the husband and the mother-in-law.
Okay.
So that step is very, very important. Third is that she should deliver in a safe and a clean place. Fourth is the postpartum care, which is very, very, very important, and most of us miss on that. And fifth is an exclusive breastfeeding. So all these 5 steps are very, very important. Then second issue is that still lack of awareness, the poverty in the rural areas, the prejudices, and the inequitable healthcare, which we find around, is like many factors which bring about the woman not taking proper antenatal care, or they want to take, but they have pressure from behind, which forces them not to go ahead with a proper care.
So Dr. Agarwal, in your experience, when a woman comes to your clinic, how many percentage are accompanied by their spouses and the mother-in-laws, and how many of those are counseled by you and your doctors?
So in my practice, I think majority of the women today, I think the younger generation in urban cities, they come with their husbands. Definitely they're staying in nuclear families. So mother-in-law is very, very few cases, they come along with their mother-in-law and they well investigate themselves. And we have a set of counselors. So we give them proper counseling about the breastfeeding. We even think of giving the paternal counseling at 7 months about, the care of the child, the breastfeeding, so that they support their woman later when she delivers, so that they can get proper care. But definitely for sure, I think in most of the rural areas and places, it's just a queue of antenatal women in front of the PHCs and CHCs. And I don't think so that the counseling is done properly. Plus, compliance is a very big issue today with them.
Right. Dr. Payal Biswas, what in your experience is the biggest challenge to, get women to breastfeed first in the first 1 hour of giving birth, and then exclusively for 6 months? What makes it difficult for the woman to do it? Because perhaps in her heart, she wants to do it. She wants to give the best to her child. Something is stopping her. What could it be?
Namaskar, everyone. And I'm really honored and privileged to be here. So before I answer your question, I just want to share one incident of, our ancient history. Like the Vedas, they stated the, importance of milk and breastfeeding. Then, like, Chakra Samhita, Shatruta Samhita, all those things, they stated the importance. Breast was considered as a nectar. But what happened during this course of time? Now we are, talking and educating, and providing all the knowledge about breastfeeding. So with the industrialization, I think it has slowly and gradually it's getting lost. And the main challenges what we face nowadays is regarding the breastfeeding mothers. They are considered after delivery. During pregnancy, people will give advice regarding the what they have to do, they don't have to do. But after delivery, everyone considered them as they should be knowing it, like breastfeeding should come naturally from them. But it doesn't happen for many women. It is definitely it's a natural bit. It is like it should be learned from somebody, and they need a practical information, practical training and guidance. Like most of the time it happens for example, if the mother is having C-section, definitely she won't be able to breastfeed baby, and then she needs practical help. And second thing comes, they have now most of the women, they need to go back to work. But do we have proper facilities for them to, provide them with a breastfeeding room, or do we give them the time to pump their milk? Actually, no, most of the time. And they know about breastfeeding, and it's so important. But the thing is, they feel guilty that, I won't be able to continue for 6 months because I need to go back to my work. And that leads to, postnatal depression as well. So main challenges is they are aware of breastfeeding, but so many other factors, like as Dr. Mangal and Dr. Agarwal has, put across, like, along with the family, husband, mother-in-law, friends, then hospital settings, I think even society plays an important role. They should not, like, in feeding in public. They should not be asked to go out of the room or go out of the mall, if they're feeding. If they should not ask to, go out of the bus stop if they're feeding their baby. And I think we need to work with the government.
Right. So we need social conditioning to be more, accommodative of women who are perhaps breastfeeding even in public. That's an important point raised by you. When I delivered my child, my first delivery, the doctor who delivered the child gave me my baby on the operation theater table and said, feed your child. And it was successful. During my second delivery, I kept demanding, bring my child to me, I want to breastfeed. And the doctor said, oh, he's not breathing properly, we are observing. By the time the child came, he was so hungry, was not latching on properly. Though I did breastfeed my child, my second child too, initial hiccups are very frustrating. Why do the doctors take the slightest excuse to give toffee? It has happened to all my friends who delivered their babies. Why does this happen?
Yeah, Anisha, I fully agree with what Dr. Gupta has just mentioned. And in my opening remarks also, I emphasized on that. I think it is true that the health system, the healthcare providers, healthcare givers, during pregnancy, at the time of delivery, and during the time the woman and the child is in the hospital, we fail more often than the woman herself, and also even the family members. Now, as Dr. Gupta mentioned, I also wanted to emphasize on that. When almost 90% births are taking place in institutions in urban areas and 75% births in rural areas, why this proportion is just 40% of early initiation of breastfeeding? I can't understand that. Nothing can explain that, except that the nurses or the doctor have not bothered about promoting early initiation of breastfeeding. Same thing is true about the issue of cesarean section. Now, cesarean section is almost 45% in private sector and around 20% in government sector in public sector hospitals. Now, what prevents? I mean, there is no contraindication that the cesarean section woman cannot feed the child within that hour, 1 hour, and the same opportunity, 6 months of antenatal care opportunity, 4 or 5 days in the hospitals opportunity are not utilized by the healthcare providers to emphasize, reiterate the fact that not only early initiation, but exclusive breastfeeding and then complementary feeding are vital for the health of the child. And I'm sure no mother in this world will not like that her child is healthy and have a good start in life. So it is perhaps the emphasis that is placed by care providers. It needs reiteration and further emphasis.
Dr. Payal, who is going to counsel a new mother on how to breastfeed? Is it the doctor who is delivering the baby? Is it the nurse who is taking care of her and the baby? It's not an automatic, natural thing. And new mothers are not know. They don't know how things are done, but they are expected as mothers to know everything. And then they also have their relatives saying, even my milk didn't come. Don't feel bad. It's okay to give up. What do you do when you get this kind of attitude? And who will help you?
Here I just want to say that we need skilled practical help from trained healthcare workers like, certified lactation specialists. As Dr. Arun has mentioned that, we have BPNI who is giving, 7 days course on, lactation counseling. So we need to, those type of people in our healthcare system who could build mother's confidence, who could improve feeding techniques, who could prevent or resolve breastfeeding problems. And along with that, we need the government help to, put policies and to, in all institutions, not only that corporate sectors, we need in every institutions, school, colleges, then there's a bank and private sectors to provide a breastfeeding room for the mothers, where they could lock from inside and they could pump their milk after they return back to their work. So I think that, plus antenatal education. So we need a proper trained, lactation specialist in every sector.
You mean every hospital, both private and government?
Hospitals, and we need to train, everyone, not only the healthcare staff. We need to train the whole community as a whole. Breastfeeding is not a women's job.
Only. Okay. Okay. Now, Dr. Mangal had pointed out that in our country, pregnant mothers, their BMIs are very low, some are overweight, but even the overweight ones may have nutritional deficiencies of, iron and folic acid, which is given during pregnancies. So, Dr. Dalal, I want to find out from you how successful is supplementation to ensure mother's health. We are talking about feeding, but we need to have the mother also in optimal health. Is this the best way forward? You give them pills. Do women readily take them?
Anisha, I would like to add a point to the question before you asked. So I was just wanting to say that sometimes, breast examination also at 7 months have helped a lot of women. So it becomes very difficult. When I also delivered, I realized that immediately after delivery, it was very difficult for me for my first pregnancy after delivery to, latch your baby. So if we start that process with dummy dolls from 7 months and, do a proper breast examination, because there are a lot of problems in the breast, like inverted nipples, cracked nipples, and train them and show them videos. What happens, like how do you breastfeed a child? That will bring a lot of difference in bringing about breastfeeding immediately after delivery. Because, we are in so much of pain, so much of trauma after delivery that it becomes very difficult to understand what we exactly want to do, and especially with your first child. So this is actually bringing a lot of changes in the women if we try these practices. So coming to the nutrition, I feel nutrition is the most important part today in an antenatal care. So average weight gain, what an Indian woman should have is not more than 10 to 11 kgs. We need to monitor their weight changes completely during pregnancy, because if they start gaining too much of weight, there are chances that they can get into gestational diabetes. There can be a lot of birth defects in a child. So it's definitely very important to monitor the mother. If she doesn't eat properly, she can have nutritional anemia that can affect the child. She can have low birth weight babies. She can have preterm deliveries. If her BP, if we monitor and we find her BP is very high, she's into preeclampsia, a high protein diet is so much important. If she's not taking proper folic acid preconceptionally or maybe initial days, there can be chances of birth defects like neutral tube defects and all what we say. So I mean, supplementation with folic acid at least and a simple iron and calcium in the pregnancy can make a lot of difference.
Right.
So,
Dr. Mangal, we heard that the Maternal Act has been passed. Now, from the government side, do you see, what could be improved? Like Dr. Gupta just said, over the years, he has not seen a very big improvement for people who are at the bottom of the rung. So from the government side, what can be done? Private hospitals, of course, will get their lactation experts, etc. If that is the need of the hour, they're going to do it and they're going to charge the customer. How can the government, under the ambit of the Maternal Act, provide better services? What could be innovative solutions to see that, pregnant lactating mothers are healthy and so are the young infants?
Yeah, Misha, this is a very progressive step that government has taken. And this amendment is definitely will go a long way. But here again, the interpretation and the implementation, the government, it is left to the state governments. And also the private sector is not very clearly mentioned there. The private sector is still not following this amended act in letter and spirit. They are making their own interpretation on this. So I think this is one issue that needs to be examined, and necessary corrective guidelines needs to be issued so that it should be applicable and followed by everybody whosoever employs the female workers in their organization, whether they are private or any, and ensure that pregnant women get 6 months of vacation so that they can take care of the child, especially early initiation of breast milk, breastfeeding, and then exclusive breastfeeding. That's very, very important. But at the same time, the other aspects that after that, whether there are facilities of crutches, whether a woman can bring their child and feed the child, or they get breaks in between the work hours, these are important issues. So this is on that, but I would also like to make a small comment on the question that asked Gupta earlier, that how this micronutrient deficiency and other nutrient deficiencies could be addressed. I think in this whole issue of pregnancy and rearing the children, there is a concern on over medicalization. It's a natural physiological process. But because of several factors, the medical interventions are required to save the life of the woman and the child. And therefore it is important. I'm not saying that this is not important. But at the same time, the natural process should be encouraged, whether it is natural birth or whether it is the nutrition, and the micronutrient should be derived or should be coming naturally through the food that a woman consumes. Now, people will raise questions that whether every woman in this country, especially poor women, have the type of food that they're eating will derive or will get micronutrients. Now, we recently conducted a study for CIFF in 3 districts of Rajasthan, where we looked at the dietary practices of pregnant women, non-pregnant women, and lactating women. And based on that study, we found, and we recommended that nutrition-based advice can be given to the woman, irrespective of their socioeconomic status, and they, with very little tinkering and incremental support, the nutrition of the woman can be addressed. So this is important. And the last point I would like to raise is about this folic acid. We all know the association of the folic acid and the neural tube defects. But we also know, as medical professionals, that the folic acid supplementation should be given just before the pregnancy and in the first month of the pregnancy. But what happens in India, in our program, the IFA is given from the 3rd month, because that is the time when the pregnant woman registers, and after that the IFA is given. So I'm not very sure that this program intervention is serving that purpose. Maybe my gynecologist friends can comment on that.
Right. Dr. Payal, can you tell us about the folic acid supplementation? If I remember right, I had my folic acid all through my pregnancy. It wasn't stopped after the 1st month. I had to prove my pregnancy. Is that what is followed in India? Plus, you said that we need to counsel not just the woman but also her family on the need for breastfeeding and how to do it. But is that the way forward? They say it takes a village to raise a child. So, I mean, you need to create awareness amongst a large group of people, all those relatives, everybody who comes in touch with a new mother, because everybody is ready with advice for new mother. You feed the child. First thing, if you feed the child honey, the voice will be sweet. So give honey, but not breast milk. So, how do you get rid of these superstitions which are believed for such a long time? Plus, if you could tell us what is a norm for folic acid supplementation in our country?
So regarding the, first I will start with the lactation thing. So when we take antenatal sessions for the mothers, and when we take, antenatal session for the mothers, would-be mothers in government hospital, we always encourage the mother to bring their, husband, mother, and mother-in-law. These are the 3 people, who will be actually taking care of the mother after delivery. So when you sensitize them, and we have seen that, when the husband comes with the mother during antenatal sessions, and they help the mother in every aspect from the, first hour, from skin to skin contact to, first hour, our breastfeeding, to taking care of the baby, like, burping, making the baby to sleep, taking care of the mother, mother's health, mother's sleep, mother's, what mothers need to eat. And also, encourage the mother. And so it's so important, right? Mothers needs a pat on their back to, say that, you are doing wonderful. Not like, telling the mother, you are not producing enough milk, baby is crying because of you. All those comments usually unintentionally, it will come out of from our, near and dear ones. Not intentionally. They don't, they didn't, meant to hurt the mother, but it will come out, and because too much of love for the, newborn. And sometimes it happens that demotivate the mother. That makes the mother guilty. Okay, I'm not a good mother. And what happens? Everything gets shut down. And from there to, take out the mother and, to start with the breastfeeding, it takes a lot of time. Because sometimes it can lead to postpartum depression as well. And so this is our thing. So we all, so we have seen that, when we teach the mother antenatally during, whole family, so it becomes much more easier, and then we don't have to give that much support. Yeah, definitely we need to give support regarding if they need help, but not like the mother who have not been counseled for, breastfeeding. And here I just want to share a story because of this, pandemic session. Pandemic time, I got a call from a mother from a remote part of India. And she was, and you can see that, all of a sudden lockdown started, and many mother or mother-in-law, they could not come to their, daughters or daughter-in-law's place while at the time of delivery. So at that point of time, only mother, father, and the baby, newborn. So, and that woman was about to leave breastfeeding, because initial stage, it was so stressful. So, and that was the last call she gave me. She told me, at the first, starting of the session, that if this didn't work, tomorrow I'm, going to stop my, I'm asking my gynecologist to get me some medicine to stop breastfeeding. That's it. End of the story. So I, counseled her and, taught her all the positions and things. And after 4 months, she sent me a, amazing mail stating that one phone call has changed my life. So this is the, power of, helping encouragement, helping the mother. And so, yes, so, this is the thing we need to, incorporate in our day-to-day practice. And also, as I said that, we need a village to raise the thing. And what I feel now, we need to sensitize the college students as well regarding breastfeeding and pregnancy. So they should not objectify as a, other thing, rather than it's so important as a baby's nutrition. And if we can do that, I think most of our work will be done. And regarding this, this folic acid, I won't recommend because, I'm sorry, because I won't deal with this folic acid part. I deal with mainly lactation and childbirth education. Yeah.
Dr. Agarwal, you tell us about the folic acid and the supplementation. Does it work? Are people, do women willingly take these supplements?
So I think folic acid is something which, like, every woman, or in urban areas, every woman knows that they have to take folic acid, especially those preconceptional tablets which have started coming now. In rural areas now, I think at PHCs and CHCs, they are dispensing folic acid tablets before the pregnancy, because it's very important to take it 2 to 3 months before you are actually pregnant, to achieve that level of folic acid in the body so that it doesn't cause any neural tube defects. So
that way you should have planned your pregnancy well, right? Known that I'm going to have a baby, so let's start popping the pills. But as much as I remember, I started taking the folic acid pills as soon as I discovered I was pregnant, and I continued till all of the pregnancy. Is that the norm? Continuation for the entire pregnancy?
It's beneficial only for 3 months in the pregnancy.
The first 3 months.
Yeah.
All right. Dr. Mangal, I'd like to come to you. We've got, what do you think is the best way forward? As much as I understand, the government does have a model of financial assistance also to new mothers, where they are given some money should they come and deliver in a healthcare facility, and they are given some monetary support as well. What do you think would be the best way to improve breastfeeding and maternal and infant nutrition going ahead?
I would say that we need to refine our program interventions. Now, RMNCH plus A has a component of adolescents. I think that is the right time to start. We need to incorporate this information in the program interventions of adolescents, prepare them for their future life. If they intend to form a family and intend to have children, they need to be prepared at that stage. And that is the stage when we need to also address the malnutrition amongst adolescents, anemia among adolescents. And also sow a seed of the information that if whenever they intend to have a child, they need to start preparing for it. That's one thing. And here comes the role of, say, giving them folic acid supplementation at that stage. This is one. Then comes, this is the time also to prepare both men and women for importance of breastfeeding. And then comes addressing the issues which are more tradition and customs, which are very, very deep rooted in the society. All said and done, all consultations, best of the hospitals, best of the doctors, but finally what is being done at home by the young woman is
what mom says.
Yes. So that is the major influence. Now, how, and that is very important, what pregnant woman will be given to eat, whether it will be laddus or it will be special preparations. I'm not against them, but we need to see that it should be a balanced diet. So that needs to be addressed, that how we keep the good part of these traditional practices and also incorporate the desired messages so that the behaviors of both mother-in-laws, husband changes, the entire family changes, and a pregnant woman is assisted, supported through her pregnancy and childbirth. Then comes the issue of optimal breastfeeding. Now here, the entire health system, whether it is public sector or private sector, they need to relook at the way they use these entire antenatal opportunities that they get, how they counsel the mother, how they educate the mother and husband and other important people. Now, here I would also like to quickly make a comment on this advice of having a dedicated lactation counselors. It sounds very good, and it might work in some situations. But in a country like ours, which is so vast and also resource constrained, I don't see whether the public sector will be able to have dedicated lactation counselors at center level or PSC level. Some big private hospitals might have. But more than this, what is important is preparing women, preparing the family during antenatal period, if possible before that, for optimal the breastfeeding.
Okay, so starting early is Dr. Mangal's mantra, and Dr. Mangal, I must tell you, those laddus were delicious, which I had during the time I delivered my kids, and I really needed those laddus because I had had enough of the lauki and the moong dal that was given, the only thing given to me, because all tasty food was off. It was not possible when breastfeeding a child. But last words from Dr. Agarwal, we are seeing a sensitivity to this, and the government has come up with laws. Now, when it comes to creating awareness and normalizing this behavior, so some malls do have feeding rooms, but most malls don't. How do you make this a normal thing? If I'm sitting on a bench and I'm feeding my child, I've covered myself, why should I get comments? How do we get there?
I think that's the most important problem. People on the roads, people on the railway stations, people on the airports, people in the malls, people in the offices. I think we hitch to breastfeed because we feel what others will comment.
And look at us and stare at us.
So we had, made some points, like we'll teach every woman how she looks in the mirror if she's feeding, how much she's covered with her clothes, so that when she's breastfeeding outside, she knows that I am comfortable, what she should wear.
That's a good strategy.
Yeah, what crepes have come up, so we can advise her, you can wear such crepes so that you're completely covered, you're not seen outside. And it all starts from, your everybody's houses, how you bring up the society. So I think that is very, very important. And I think everywhere there should be, places where actually a woman can breastfeed, because everybody is not that open-minded in the country, and it will be very difficult, and it will take a lot of time to bring that change.
Dr. Payal Biswas, Dr. Mangal said that, in the public sector, it may not be possible to have a lot of lactation experts or consultants. Then who's going to teach a mom how the baby will latch? Will it be the nurse? Will it be the doctor? Will it be her mother? Will it be her husband? Your last few closing comments.
So here I absolutely agree with Dr. Mangal, because in many PHCs and government sector and things, they don't have that much budget to hire a lactation specialist. So here we can teach one nurse in particular hospital or PHC who can take care of the mother. It's like teach one and they can teach thousands.
So you're saying equip the existing resource with this skill.
So we can teach, we can give our knowledge and, expertise to that particular, one nursing staff who can who can, teach their staffs, who can teach their, mothers. So that's how we can improve the breastfeeding rate, because, that's how we have to do it, because one person can't, take care of the whole. And see, if we consider the lactation specialist, it's just a handful.
I was very glad to have the lactation specialist in the hospital where I delivered, because really, the technique needs to be learned then and there, and nobody can tell you, not even a book can tell you. So, we see videos and those help, but having a real person show you how really does help. And if the entire system is such where this is seen as the normal, I'm sure we will be able to improve breastfeeding, exclusive breastfeeding rates in our country. And I would like to thank all of you for joining in this discussion.